Hello everyone, this is my visit on Thomaskirche in the Bach Museum in Leipzig last year, and it was the main reason I went to Leipzig, is to see these two things and visit Bach's grave. And if you were to ask me on any given day, odds are who my favorite composer is, it would be Bach, the greatest composer, greatest musician that ever lived. Now it depends on my mood. Sometimes I'll say Tchaikovsky, sometimes I'll say Chopin, sometimes I'll say Beethoven. But I would say about 80% of the time of the year, I'll say Bach. His Chaconne in D minor, the Goldberg, there's just so many wonderful pieces that just amaze me, that hits me. But visiting his grave, now this is where he was originally buried. He was buried at Johanniskirche after he died in 1750. And that church was, and they weren't sure where his grave was. They had to do a little bit of archaeology on that, but there was an oral tradition where he was buried, and it was 6 paces from the front door. Well, sure enough, in the late 1800s, they found his grave because they're demolishing the church, or no, they're building something over the. Oh, I can't remember the story. I think they're building something where the graveyard was. And they decided to look for Bach's grave, and they found it. And they buried him in Johannes Church, where he was the cemetery of that place. But that church was destroyed in World War II, so they moved him here. And this is his resting place now. So, and they never found his wife's grave. His wife was buried in the same cemetery, but they didn't have an oral tradition on where exactly she was buried, Anna Magdalena. So it was just, and this church, he worked here came here in the 1720s, and he worked all the way here as the Cantor until his death in 1750. There's a small display room where they have a lot of original stuff, church property, but also stuff that Bach oversaw. Like he probably played those cellos, and a lot of accounts of his life there. Right across the street is the Bach Museum, and that was incredible. This was my main destination, again, for Leipzig. And it just had so many personal effects that his instruments, his music, the original scores, so many of them. And interactive displays that were really, really fun. They had dramatizations of many aspects of his life. Now, they also let you listen to the music that was inspired by Bach. And one of them I knew about was Sting. Because Sting is a huge Bach fan. And I knew this before going. It was kind of weird because I don't listen to Sting's music that much. Actually, not at all. Sorry. But he's a big fan of Bach. So that was my visit. I highly encourage you to go. This was by far a more visited museum than the other museums I went to. And it's just really, really awesome. And these dramatizations were so fascinating to listen to. It's almost like you're listening to Bach speak to his friends or his family. And has a little bit about Anna Magdalena in there as well. A remarkable person. Again, they should do a movie on her as well. Talented singer. She preserved a lot of Bach's works. Alrighty, so, and Leipzig's a beautiful town. I saw the old town, visited it, and walked through. But Mendelssohn, Bach, Schumann, many other composers called this home for a time. Alrighty, thank you.